so many of us reach a point in life where we ask, am I really living my best life or just going through the motion? And today's guest helps people find their North Star, and I can't wait to dive in. So, for me, I am Dr. Evelyn. I am an integrative holistic naturopathic doctor in Pacific Northwest, Washington, and I help women help transition their midlife or their hormone fluctuation. And a lot of times they always bring their man in, so I help them both optimize their hormones and other gut health, etc., to optimal health as an achievement. So, today's guest whenever I look at your bio, Cate, I always wonder, North Star. Actually, where my husband and I met is at the internship clinic called True North. So therefore, it's a North Star. I was like, oh, that means something. So therefore, I just want to reach out to do a conversation with you. So I'll have you introduce yourself. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Evelyn. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Cate, or some call me Kathy or Catherine. I am an Australian mother of three gorgeous adult human beings whom have sent me off with their blessings to become a bit of a digital nomad. I've been working with technology to do with sports and mega events for over 25 years and done various things before that. But I have been basically on the road for the last 8 years, traveling, looking after and working on mega sports events, shall we say, or games as they call them. So yeah, that's what I've been doing to earn an income for the last X number of years. But in that time, I've also been studying various aspects of life, the universe, and everything, including what it is that happens between our ears and how it is we can make use of that a lot more than what we have been to help us to live a fulfilling life. Because I think a lot of us have switched that off. And yeah, I want to help people do that, recover that again.
Ah, thank you for that introduction. That's really cool. About 8 years to be a nomad and do a sport game event. That's quite huge. That's quite rare
Yep.
as well. Like rarely have heard about those individuals doing those work. So thank you for doing that work. So for the takeaways of this conversation, I truly hope that our audience will gain hope, the tools, and a roadmap for reconnecting with purpose and self, especially go through the journey that you went through. So tell us a little bit about what drew you to become a guide for others. And was there a moment where you had to find your own North Star first?
Absolutely. Very much so. I mean, I'm one of the very few people, I guess, in this world these days, from when you listen to people talking, who I really loved my job. I loved my role. I loved working around people who were on projects. We were there working to get a job done. Everyone was working towards the same goal. It had an end date. I've found out that I need projects with an end date because it makes me motivated to get the job done by that time. And I really, really loved working with other talented people who, did their jobs really, really well. So that was not limited to the people I worked with behind the scenes, because obviously what we were doing, we were providing a field of play for athletes who were at their peak. And to know that you had been able to prepare a field of play for those athletes to perform and achieve their best performance, whether it was rowers on a 2 kilometre course or swimmers in a 50-metre pool or divers on a platform, whatever the sport, whatever the situation, to know that you're able to contribute to making that the best field of play possible for them to achieve their best performance was always such a buzz, and I really loved being a part of it, and also to ensure that performance was then shared with the world, that that everybody could watch and enjoy and participate in witnessing what was going on the field of play. So I really loved that. But what happened was when I finished my last contract, I took some time out, and due to various circumstances, and only having an Australian passport, as it turns out, is a bit of a drawback at the moment,
Mm.
um, in that work wasn't as easy to come by in our world. And not only that, but I just felt drawn to do something else. I'd always wanted to begin some online business work, something
Mm.
to build up so that when the time came that I wanted to settle back down again, I had some form
Perfect.
of an income. And trying to find what that would be was actually a huge challenge, because I had to do a lot of deep diving. What did I want to do? What did I want to give? What did I want to achieve? What did I feel I had to offer? And that was a huge, big question. And I struggled for a long time looking for answers, talking to people, getting involved in businesses that were going to help me to build this business. And it didn't sort of start to come together until I actually took some time out and spent time working on things that mattered to me. And all of a sudden, I started to feel the things that resonated, the things that, even though they were perhaps a new concept,
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was coming home. And one of those things
Mm-hmm.
was getting involved with women's circles, or circle work in particular, but women's circles in particular. And it was the weirdest feeling. It was brand new concept for my head, but for my heart, it felt like it was something that had been a part of my soul forever. So I remember when I ran my first circle, it was called New Beginnings, because for me it was new beginnings, and I was really excited about being able to offer this. And we had a fantastic circle, and I found that as I was running it, I felt like I was coming home. I was coming home to what I was meant to do. And when I saw what the event brought for others, for the women that were there, and since, and in other circles that I've participated in, for example, it's amazing. And I love what it can do for people and the journey it can help people along with. And that's what I loved, is being able to guide people, being able to facilitate for people, um, to have that journey and to have that discovery of themselves internally and inside, and starting to discover their own voice, discover their own true story. And so yeah, that's when it all started to come together for me, as to exactly what it is that I feel drawn to do and want to be doing from now on.
Thank you for sharing. That is so true to so many people who go through this transition. And no
Yeah.
matter how old, how young, every transition has its own remark for life. Like for example, from my own life, I left my own country, Vietnam, when I was 15. At that time, I didn't know it was at I didn't know how it's gonna turn out, whether it's a good thing, bad thing. I just know in my own. But people back in the time, they always say, "Oh, you're so lucky. You got to leave the country. You got to do something different in America, in the USA." And I thought, okay, fine. I love school back then. I love my people. I have a routine. And from my own being, I'm very structural. If you give me a routine, I'm going to follow to the T. If there's a changes, I will get shocked. And until I got to California first, it was a shocking moment that I had to face in the first time of my life. And I was 15, where we got into like English secondary language classes, all the
Mm.
math classes. It was lower than what I used to in the curriculum in Vietnam. And then because my mom went through her transition as well as I think she was 45, so almost in the menopause time. At least that time, I didn't know the medical background to understand like, oh, hormone fluctuation. That's why mom acts that way. When they couldn't find a good job in California, so we moved to Texas. So we got a nomad along the road.
Mm,
And my mom went through that kind of transition where she had to find herself as well and live in other families member houses and find a voice that we didn't speak the normal language. Like English, it was not our first. So it's a lot of culture shock that every people in the family have to face in their own
mm.
journey. And that was a long, like, psychological breakdown, 4 years in high school for me personally. And when I get out, go to college and go to medical school, get away from home just to get away from that bubble of depression, of stuckness, of thing have to be doing certain things and find myself.
Mm.
And I was in my, I think, mid 20 in the time when I joined the medical school. And I think, wow, when I got about the women's cycle of life and transition, and this can apply to anybody too, men, women, young kid, or adults. We have those life and we felt lost. Yeah, and
Mm.
I'm so appreciate what you say. You love to facilitate a journey to help
Mhm.
people discover themselves, their own voice, and their own truth. So, who usually the people that you work with, and what kind of journey do you take them through?
Well, it's interesting because the other thing that I discovered, and this has probably been a real turning point for me, is that my brain is wired differently to most people's. I
That's
didn't
your
realize
superpower.
this. Yeah, it has both angles. um, and it's not something that it's been easy to not easy to accept, but to understand and to explain, because for my whole life I had just thought I was normal, typical person. Um, but my behaviors and my reactions and my thoughts and feelings often didn't align with what other people would go through and see and do. And it wasn't until beginning of this year that it dawned on me, watching a few different things on a few podcasts on YouTube and some groups on Facebook, that I learned about ADHD, which was quite a shock because my one of my children was diagnosed with ADHD when she was 4.5, and I was told girls don't get ADHD, but your daughter has it. Less than 1 in 6 diagnosed with ADHD is female. They grow out of it at puberty, and women don't have ADHD. So that's what I was told about 30 years ago. So I didn't realize until this year that a lot of the things that I said and did and the ways I felt were due to the fact that my brain is wired differently. And having learned about all of that has made a huge change for me, because all of a sudden I've discovered how my brain works. And whilst I kind of grieve my life because I didn't have this information, I've also decided there's so much no more I can do with the knowledge that I have. And the people that I've been working with in particular are similar. They have also not been diagnosed. Some of them have not even fully accepted, perhaps, that they have a differently wired brain, and therefore their thoughts and reactions are not what the neurotypical world is designed to accept and manage. And so being able to help people like that, being able to understand how those people are feeling not accepted, not a part of life as we know it, because they think differently, they feel differently, they react differently, they don't understand why people don't understand why they react that way. It took me a long while to figure this out. It's a real boon now to be able to understand and help people, women in particular that I work with, who are having these challenges, because women don't get ADHD. And
Mm,
yet, so many women I've now, and especially after menopause, apparently
right.
that is a real magnifier. And a lot of women who have never known that they had ADHD have
Mhm.
suddenly been confronted with the reality of what their life has been up until this point. And so many times those women have been masking their whole life. They've buried who they
Mhm.
really are. They've had to really try and stop themselves from being their true selves
Yeah.
and masked to fit into what society expects and wants of women. And yeah, I feel it's time that women were allowed, not just ADHD, but all women were allowed to
Mhm.
actually speak their truth and start to hear it. And that's what I'm finding is that so many women, once they actually have the opportunity to speak, hear themselves, hear themselves come out with messages that have been buried that they've never even recognized and spoken of before. And suddenly I've seen women's faces just change in the moments when they're hearing themselves speaking these thoughts that they've never been game enough to speak before, but in circle they have that freedom to be able to speak and to hear themselves because there is no threat of judgment, there is no threat of anybody giving an opinion, there is no one going to give them advice, there's no one going to fix them because they're not broken. They're
Mhm.
just for the first time being able to speak their truth. And it's incredibly freeing and it's incredibly liberating for them to be able to finally hear themselves. So being able to guide women on that journey and facilitate them beginning that journey in circle, and then if they decide they want to, I can work with them further. um, it's it's invigorating. It really is inspiring to be able to see these women come to life, to
Yeah.
actually discover that they've just got so much more in life to live once they start to uncover and discover what it is that they've got inside and who they
Yeah.
really are and what their true voice is.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that vulnerability about yourself first. And then from that, you use them as a leverage to fuel your path to help other people. I love interview different people in the podcast or the interview here because every person always have a turning point. From there, they push that to propel them to do things for the society, for our community, for the women's circle. I truly appreciate. We need more of you. Yeah, and I used to
Well,
join some of those menopausal group and have a chat with women. And I can see that when we come together with the vulnerability, the sharing, the open-minded, and what other people's story can also heal our story is so powerful and magnetic, stronger than just one-on-one individual in the exam room I have. At least my part, and I met so many women who are transition, and they say, Dr. Evelyn, I think I need to have an evaluation for ADHD. And in the United States, young girls 13, 15, they do get checked to just make sure that they can get evaluation. And a book I hope the audience may have a chance to read through or know about called Menopause Brain by Dr.
mm,
Lisa Mosconi. And she highlights that declining in estrogen, which is one of those main hormones for women during perimenopause and menopause, which can be between like 35 plus to 40 or 50, that leading to symptoms like brain fog or mood changes. So some women in that age range, they come to me and we always discuss about like how are those symptoms affect you. And one, we can get the evaluation to make sure they feel safe, they feel good, they understand. And also, second, we help them to guide through that hormone fluctuation and can get back to whatever sufficiency in their physiology that they missed. And second part I hear from the story is it sounds to me also the way of life before, the knowing the change in your body is completely different from what moving forward. And that takes courage to change.
mm,
And not to the point where you throw whatever you know in the trash, but at least you kind of process them, and then you also continuously learning new way to help yourself better and help yourself more functioning and be in a harmony with the family and everything. And
Mm,
I would love to hear more, since your children allow you to be a nomad. That is very, very strong and very beautiful, because I imagine for my culture, they don't want us to go like leave home. I mean, like stay in the house with a parent until you're 26, you have your own house, you save enough money. But I know from other culture, they just like go do things. You're 18, you need to be independent, get out of the house. How does
mm.
that transition feel toward a time right now that you find yourself, your North Star?
Um, it was, I mean, it's funny because I was a single mum and I raised the kids on my own. And um, I think and they did, they recognized the sacrifices that were made to ensure that there was, a roof over their head, food on the table,
Mhm.
education, and they all did a sport, their own sport. All three of them chose different sports, so that
Wow.
was challenging. I got to be very familiar with swimming, basketball, and rowing. Um,
Yeah.
so that was, I mean, that was okay. Rowing was already in the family, so yeah, and I was raised to be very independent, and I raised my kids to be independent and to have, um, you know, hopefully some belief in themselves and their capabilities. So when it came time that the opportunity was offered to me to move to Tokyo for the role on the Tokyo Olympics, when I put it to them, there was not a single momentary doubt. They all just said, "Mum, you've got to do it. It's your dream job. It's what you've always wanted to do, is to work on the Olympics and to have that opportunity presented." That they were just all really thrilled that and I mean they were all grown up and off doing their thing at that point, so it wasn't like I was abandoning any of them at home. They were they were off and living their lives. So technology today is that where you can be in touch from anywhere in the world. So
Mhm.
if we're a city, two cities apart or two countries apart, it was easily done. So yeah, it is. I mean, I obviously there are times I wish I was home and wish I could be there with them, and especially where around special events and things that are happening in our lives, but or even just having a get together at some point. But yeah, that's some of the sacrifices one makes when one's following one's dream this way.
Yeah. And I appreciate that your children understand mom's dream and mom's
Mm,
aspiration. And a lot of moms out there that got buried with household responsibility, with the caretaker of parents that got aging at this age as well. And I always feel for women when they come to my clinic and they just say, yeah, this happened, so therefore I'm delay my action step. And it's take with empathy, right? And that's life. People age, people grow, and we are in the middle of
yeah,
it and we are growing as well. And that's why we just have to find
absolutely.
one step at a time. Yeah.
I mean, I've coined a new phrase,
Oh
modern
yeah.
midlife crisis.
Modern
um,
midlife crisis.
yeah, because I think 60 is the new 40, and
Yeah.
I was literally sitting on my balcony in Tokyo when I turned
Mhm.
60 and thinking, I don't feel like I'm approaching retirement. I'm literally just starting my new chapter. I'm starting my new world, my new role. And obviously, this was just before we all got hit with that major glitch in the timeline. Um,
Mhm.
so it was when I decided that 60 was the new 40 and 60 is the new midlife. And I'd read stories that the human body can last 120
Yeah.
years if it's well looked after. And I mean, there's been a woman who's 100 recorded as being 122. So I'm
Oh
sure there are
my.
many others who have lived long lives beyond that. So if we look after our
Yeah,
bodies, so 60 really is midlife. When you look at it,
exactly.
we're all
Yeah.
circling 60, and whether we're on the approach to 60 or on the seeing 60 in the rear vision mirror, there's no one who can stop you from deciding that you're doing something new. There's no one who can stop you from doing that. It's up to you. And learning to do that with your mind is another part of what I'm helping people to do. So
Yeah, it's the
as I said,
mind. Hmm. And
it's all
I
the power
love,
between our ears.
right? I love going to the conference called the Longevity Fest by A4M, and it's usually in Vegas, and now they just spread around in different states in America. Every
Mhm.
December I come there. I'm just so amazed at how those martial arts, they're from China, they're from different countries, but they practice for a long time. And there was one guy like 101. Like
Mhm.
when you first see, I'm in my 30s, so therefore I'm see someone who like time three of the age above me. I'm just like, oh my
Mhm.
God, can I be that way? I feel like small. I don't know if myself to live that way. Until people say, if you believe and you set your mind to a certain goal and you can achieve them, it's just that neurolinguistic changes in our neuroplasticity that we have to work on it. So
And
let's get back. Yeah,
yeah,
you have a term that you also say inner sanctum or inner sacred. Is that
inner
correct of how
sanctum.
you do it? What does it mean to you?
The inner sanctum is something I was introduced to over 30 years ago in a program I did. A friend of mine invited myself and my husband to participate in this weekend course to learn about the mind, the power of the
Mhm.
mind, and how to access that power. Not harness, not tame, not anything like that, but how to access the power of the mind. And we participated in that weekend, and what we learned, the techniques and the tools that we learned that weekend about accessing the alpha and the theta and that areas of the mind
Mhm.
was was mind blowing. um, but yeah, and then I ended up actually working on the course on support as part of the support team on that course for a few years and absolutely loved it because what we achieved, what I saw people learn and what I saw people how I saw people change when they realized that they too could do all this stuff. It was just incredible. And a few years ago, it was something that was always in the back of my mind. Life got in the way, children, and doing all my other stuff. Um, but a few years ago, I was drawn to do a course for hypnotherapy. And so I signed up and did the hypnotherapy course. And immediately, I again felt that feeling of coming home, of yes, this is a part of me. I feel like this is real for me. This is what I can do. And it was a fascinating time because it reinvigorated everything I'd learnt. And one of the things I'd learnt was the inner sanctum, was we had built an inner sanctum. Part of the
Mhm.
program that we did was building an inner sanctum. And through the works that we were doing with the hypnotherapy course and then with NLP, it
Mhm.
all just felt so incredibly natural for me. It all just felt normal. It felt like it was part of me. The same as with circles, it felt like it was a part of my soul. And so I started to develop the work that we'd done back then on helping people to build an inner sanctum. I incorporated that with a lot of other material that I had since learned. And so I've now developed a program of
Mhm.
guided meditations, guided deep trance meditations that take people on a journey to help them learn to access what powers they have between their ears, as I say. And that is I take them on a journey where they build their inner sanctum. They build the room in which is the central chamber for the inner sanctum. They then the next time we go and build a library of knowledge, and we access that, learn how to access that. Next time we do it, we visit the healing room and how to do work in there. Then there's the journey to the theatre of life and what sort of work can be done in the theatre of life. And then the next one is the lift. And that's the final one, and that's the special one that, it has a special journey involved in it. So, it's a program I'm developing, and I think the closest you can come to something mainstream now is what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about when he talks about the quantum field. And that's a sort of a way of putting it as to what it is that we're working with, is that quantum field. So all of his material is fantastic because he has the scientific background and backing and sort of research being done that is just showing how much is possible with what's between our ears. And if everybody had the ability to control what they're doing and feeling and know, we could achieve some pretty amazing things.
Yeah, and a lot of things that we only think that whatever happened to our body is going through the symptoms and the manifestation of signs that, like, for people that do have healthcare provider, we can treat the symptoms. But I always believe there's something bigger, and that's why I always want to branch out to bring more resources that is bigger than that. In naturopathic and holistic health, we also learn about craniosacral or even homeopathy. And there are visceral manipulation where everything is just channeling the energy level in order to get that harmony and feel. And that is very related to quantum field. It's not very big different, but at the same time, because of physics, because of different metaphysicists, so therefore it sounds like different things, but actually it's in a similar way of saying that energy feel. And like, for example, acupuncture or Chinese medicine, they use herbs, and those are beautiful way to harmonize that meridian channel. So everyone can do the healer of themselves, and they use different tools, different way, whatever that give you like a soul calling, like you say, coming home. That's a beautiful term. And I know that a lot of time we don't listen to our intuition, or we haven't developed that. When we do something, we feel
Or
like,
we've
oh,
suppressed it.
yeah, that's great. But then we say, oh, I have things to do. Let's forget about it. Like, go for a walk. It sounds fun, but then yeah, I have something else to do. So therefore they forgot that part of they just like there's something calling them. It it caused some change, it caused some thought, and we just ignore or we suppress it. And sometimes we go for that calling, like go dancing, something like that. For my friend, he was in as engineer for a big tech company, and one day he's just like, no more, I can't do it. I just don't want to sit there and just doing kind of coding. So he decided to learn about zouk, dancer, like being a dancer, and then he just go for it, like go travel around the world and finding community to dance together with that energetic feel. It's something very calling in that we as a person that have a soul that we can tune into and find out what is calling, so therefore we don't feel lost in this big world. Yeah.
And the thing is that we're all individuals. We are all an individual human body that is a combination of energy, because everything, when you come down, right down to your atoms and your protons and your neutrons and your electrons and the
Yeah.
quarks and the squarks and all those bits, and whatever we end up, the scientists take us down to identify further, it's all just energy. And there's all different forms of it, different colors. It's like saying everybody has different likes and different frequencies and different attitudes. And when I say attitudes, I don't mean the normal sense of attitudes, but some people love the color yellow. Some people love the color blue. Some people love the color purple, orange, green, pink.
Yep.
And they're all okay. Just because they love a different color doesn't make any one of them right or wrong. Everyone's okay. Some people have blue eyes, some people have brown curly hair, some people are tall, and some people are born without a limb or with some sort of other change of the normal human body.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong. There's so much difference in the world, but there is also so much sameness. And
Yeah.
if people could recognize that at the core of it all, we're all the same. We are all energy, and the representation of us in this world is the way we are. That's the way we look, the color of our skin, the color of our eyes, the waviness or the length of our hair. It's just the manifestation of the energies that we're carrying. So if people could learn to harness that energy and to access that energy, not harness it, but access it, and also
Mm-hmm.
access what is really their purpose, I
Mm-hmm.
think that there'd be a lot less anger and frustration than there currently is, because people would find their truth, find their North Star, find what it is they're meant to be here to do, which I think would be really great if everybody
Bring
could
the
do
world
that.
together. Yeah,
Mm,
and that's why I love to travel the world if I can with my husband. And I'm glad that we both found our North Star together in a way where we
mm.
give, we work hard, and we play together. And I'm just glad to have a
Excellent.
soulmate relationship with him. So, what could be at least practical ways that listener can begin to practice to be curious more into this dabbling, or at least like get into this world that you're talking about?
Well, there's so many different ways, and depending on where they're currently at, if
Mm-hmm.
there's someone that's doing a meditation regularly, getting into a more, getting into that as making that a part of your day. I mean, everybody's heard of affirmations. Everybody's heard of, you do an affirmation. Well, not, it's not paying lip service to these
Mm-hmm.
things. It's actually looking at what it is that means to you. So yeah, taking time out and doing some active listening.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that most people have never had the chance to experience, especially women,
Mm-hmm.
is to be heard without threat of judgment or opinion or being fixed, to be witnessed, and to experience what I call unhurried time.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so rare in this world. Everybody is always in a hurry. Is when was the last time you actually stopped and consciously did nothing? I'm not saying empty your mind, because for someone like me, it is
Mm-hmm.
impossible to empty my
Yeah.
mind. I can't do that. I cannot do that. I have a squadron of 16 highly caffeinated squirrels constantly vying for attention, playing Quidditch most of the time. Um, so I'm not talking about emptying your mind or anything like that. I'm talking about just spending some unhurried time. And when doing that, taking a look at what's uncomfortable about doing that. Because some people just find that, oh, waste of time, waste of time. Why is it
Yeah.
a waste of time? Oh, I can't do that. I haven't got time. Maybe you need to make time. So just investigating their own internal challenges with time.
Mm-hmm.
And because one of the things that we're all given is we're all given exactly the same number of hours in a day, exactly the same number of minutes in an hour, and exactly the same number of seconds in a minute.
Yeah.
And one day it's over.
Mm-hmm.
The two certainties of life. There's one may surprise you. Obviously, one certainty of life is death, and
Yeah.
the other certainty of life is change. Everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything changes. No matter what, everything changes. So spending some unhurried time
Mm-hmm.
investigating what is inside, what your true voice is trying to tell you, what it feels like to listen to your true voice. That is, I think, something that if people can start to just even try that,
Yeah.
and if they can't, that's okay. It's something we can work on, they can work on, whatever. But when everyone starts to do that, when everyone starts to just take a moment or three and spend some unhurried time listening to what's going on in here,
Mm-hmm.
they
Thank
might
you.
learn something.
That's beautiful. And I hope the audience would feel the stillness in their soul when they listen to the last part about unhurried time. And when you talk about certainty of life with death and changes, it hit me very hard, especially in my profession. I witness people who always come to the clinic regularly to receive IV due to cancer to help with the treatment of support cancer. And one day we're just like, where is the person? How come he's not come here anymore? And then the news come in, the family called and say, well, he passed away on Monday because he couldn't make it for the chemo anymore. And I think so far I've attended at least three funerals from my clients in the past clinic. It was sad in my early career to know that people work so hard, pay so much medical bill, and the
Mm.
only thing you want to have left is a time to be with their family. And I know that that man, he spends so much summertime, even though he worked for a big tech company, very busy, leader of his group, and he still spent 1 or 2 weeks with his kid who were a teenager to go different
Mm.
places in the world, at least during his fragile stages of cancer, but he still wants to give and as a last legacy. And I just felt that everyone always say me, we're going to die anyway. Why do I have to like fix my diet or take this medication or doing exercise? All of those have a different competing priority. And the reason for those keep popping up and not being distilled to one answer only of what is your action you decide to do. You can die tomorrow, is certain. It's going to happen, regardless of what happened in the world, right? And the choice is if you know you have a life given as a gift and you can live in a different way of what you're living now, what would you gamble with that? Would you like to
Mm.
have joy or aspiration, waking up feeling refreshed and just want to do things, or
Yeah.
working for a place where you hate, but at the same time you have to? Then that could kill you even faster. So it's still a choice. Come back to the reframing of what is the priority and choice that you
Mm.
make. Yeah, and
And
I
I think another question that it could be asked just on that particular point is
mhm,
that, so many people work so hard to achieve so much, to
yeah.
have good things, to have those things. And really, in the big scheme of things, what does those things matter in the long run? Having
Hmm.
a bigger car or a fancier car or a more expensive car or a more expensive house or anything like that, what does that matter
Yeah.
when you are really the cost is that time that you're not going to get back, that
Yeah.
you can't replace, and you haven't spent it. I don't believe anybody has laid on their deathbed and said, oh my God, I wish I'd worked harder to get another Bentley or another Ferrari. But they have laid on their deathbed and wished they'd spent more
Yes.
time with people or
My husband always say that honey, rest, go and play. You work too hard. But yeah, he believed in that solely statement. And one book I would like to throw out for the client, the audience is Die with Zero, Get All You Can from Your Money in Your Life by Bill Perkins. I listened to this book on my way to work so many times. And it's just interesting concept where you do work hard, you save your money, but toward the end of life, spend that money for your experiences of life instead of
Mm,
die with a bunch of money and you don't know what to do with it. Yeah,
mm,
that was very special. All right,
mm.
so to wrap up, um, let's see, what are one of those like golden nuggets or thing that you wish you have known, or something like that, and you would like to give it to the audience?
Oh, just one. I did try to think of one, the one in particular, and I thought, oh, well, one will come to me. Um, I think that one of the things that has come to mind, and with you just talking about the patients that you've had through the clinic to dealing with cancer and death. As I said, the one sure thing in life is death, and
Mhm.
just recently I've been reminded of a role that another area that I'm looking at working in particular with circles, and that is grief and death and anger, and in particular death, because as I said, it's going to happen to us all. Um, None of us want it to happen in the near future.
Mhm.
We hope for a long and healthy and fulfilling life, but it's worth preparing for because you never know when that day could happen, and none of us want to leave people behind feeling miserable and sad and lost and I've seen so many friends who've gone through sudden losses of spouses or family. I've seen friends who have gone through the dreadful prolonged agony of a loved one passing from something like cancer or MS or something like that. I would like to see people realize that there is nothing wrong with talking about death. It's
Yeah,
something we're all going to do.
exactly.
So be prepared and celebrate it. Be prepared. I remember a small village, not a village or a town or community, and I think it was in New Zealand, where the older population got together and this woman got them all fired up and they all made up their own coffins.
Oh
And they
my.
built the coffins because they had a men's shed, and the men were, would do woodwork and craft and all this sort of thing, and the women and the men got together and they built their own coffins, and they decorated them and they painted them how they wanted. And one woman in particular had the room, because not everyone would have the room, to take her coffin home.
Yeah.
She bought a big glass lid for it, big glass tabletop, and she had it as her coffee table. So
Oh.
the grandkids came around, invited the grandkids to paint on it, to draw on it, to add their decorations and messages on it to her
Oh.
while she was alive. And so, I mean, I don't know, that was a long time ago. I heard about that. But I just thought that is what we need to do. We need to remove this incredible horror that everybody has introduced in the Western world, in particular, about death, and get back to allowing death to be accepted as a part of life and be prepared for it and acknowledge it and celebrate the person's life at the end of their life, and to allow grief, the grief that people go through at the loss of a loved one near them,
Yeah.
and support them through their grief, and start to acknowledge that grief is real and everybody goes
Hmm.
through grief, and it's not just the loss of a loved one. It could be the loss of a job. It could be the loss of obviously a loved one, including two-legged, four-legged, all the special living things in our lives that pass on. Loss of a job, the loss of a home, the loss of the chance to go on a holiday, or the loss of a prospective job. You didn't get the job that you were second in line for. And that
Yeah.
all of that involves grief. It's a loss of something and grief. So, yeah, I would just say to people, acknowledge grief, accept grief, allow grief, and prepare for death, because it's guaranteed at some point.
Yeah.
and it's
That's
and
so
it's okay.
wonderfully said. Thank you. And I always tell people that we don't have to live in fear. And when we have that safe space, and especially to find a safe environment to express ourselves with our emotion, especially for women, we have that kind of up and down sometimes called mood swing. And that can make us feel like, oh, should I say this out loud to my husband? Should I express this because my kid may not understand? And I always affirm and also empower that you have your voice, your inner feeling, and that need to be heard. And when they know how you feel, at least they can prepare how to respond. And that is a good training for the family to go through. And one thing I would
Absolutely.
encourage the audience to find is your tribe, your community, same thing,
Yes,
a very safe
absolutely.
environment. So therefore, you don't feel alone. That
Mm.
loneliness feeling is so dangerous to make us our
Yes.
mind to go to different direction. And when we
Mm.
have in that connection of people, then we will have that. It's kind of faster way to get to our soul when someone out there is for us. That like we feel like coming home, we feel belong to.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
All
in
right.
fact, if that was to be the nugget, that would be it, is find your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
That would be it.
Yeah.
Is find your tribe, find your community, and yeah, and
Exactly.
build those relationships. Mm.
Thank you, Kate, for joining. So, how can people find you or work with you in the future?
Well, there's two different routes at the moment. The first one that is the one that I'm working a lot with at the moment is thecircleofus.com.
Mhm.
It's a website that I've built, and there's a community there for women who are wanting to attend Circle, learn about Circle, participate in Circle, even become facilitators of Circle. So that's the Circle of Us. And also my coaching business, which I've been doing sort of one-on-one at the moment, but I am also developing the website healthywealthyhorizons.com.
Thank
So
you.
yes.
And I'll put them in the comments and the description so the audience can find you and learn more about you. Okay,
Mhm.
great. Well, I would love to know more about what your program is because that sounds very exciting to have.
Mhm.
Mhm. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Evelyn.
All right.